Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Interview with TO. I am Chickzama with 956 Productions, and I'm here with Hagure and Day. How y'all doing today?
Good, good. Thank you for asking.
Hey, love to hear it.
Pretty good. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
Thank you.
So, I guess we'll start off with what are you guys TOing? I guess the better question. I guess the better question for Hagure is what isn't Hagure TOing is the better question.
Yeah. So with that said, I'll leave it to you, Dave. What are we TOing?
So for Hagure and I, we'll be TO a vampire savior. Main thing for us on the side, I'll also be helping out Alpha 3 when it comes to that, helping run the brackets and TO for that as well.
Nice.
For sure, yeah. Definitely, my main game that I'm teaching is Vampire Savior. I'm not really doing too much this year. Shout outs to Day and then the wonderful streamers and commentators we have with the crew. So this is like my first year. I can kind of, hand it off a little bit, but still around, to help with promo and just behind the scenes stuff. So.
Nice. Well, I guess we'll segue into the next question. Just who the heck are you two?
Well,
go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I'm Day. I started playing Vampire Savior seriously. I think around, I don't remember to be honest, but I think it was around 2017, 2018. So, I was been playing fighting games since 2015. I think, kind of more seriously. But really started with retro, I think 2017, 2018 in SoulCal. And from then on, I've just been playing Vampire Savior and a whole bunch of retro ever since then. That's how I got to meet wonderful people like Hagure and, VMP, Zach, and Kyle. They're going to be helping out as well, JMZ, Shodan, and the rest of the people. Shouts out to Bro Tannenbor, who, basically took me under his wing and, trained me in everything, not just playing the game, but, just being able to TO, run the locals myself. Of course, not just by myself, but with the help of other people who, bring setups as well and give advice to the newer pros as well.
Love to see it.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely shout outs to Rodan.
Yeah.
I am Hagure. As Dave mentioned before, helping out with the vsav scene. Like Chickzama, I'm also a member of 956 Productions, so also helping run the whole show here with Vortex Gallery. So definitely really excited for this year. It's our first year back, and being offline at Evo. So
Yay!
And for reals, yeah. It's, don't get me wrong, online was awesome, but offline is just as I saw at Combo Breaker, going back to my first offline event or big offline event, it definitely hits different. So really happy for that. What got me into Vampire Savior? I guess one of my Marvel 3 training partners at the time, K-Beast, picked up Darkstalker's Resurrection about, I don't remember whenever it was released, but it was about like a year or two after it was released. It was like on sale on PSN or something, so it's just like, oh, you want to try this out? And we played for a little bit, and since then I really like the game. My actual first experience with like Darkstalkers 1 was when I was a kid. I was in Japan, like at the Kombini, like across the street. It was like a 30-minute walk away from the house. They had two arcade cabs. One was like an SNK cab where it had like Fatal Fury and like Puzzle Bobble and stuff. And then the other one was a Darkstalkers cab. From there, that was like my first experience. I picked Wolf there.
Nice.
Thought he was a cool character. He was like a Bruce Lee / werewolf character. Thought it was really cool. Got my ass whooped by the computer because I didn't know how to do like quarter circle forwards or DP motions yet.
Right.
But yeah, fast forward to when DSR was released with my homie RK Beast, and I picked Wolf again, and ever since then I've been playing that character, and doing pretty well with got top 8
Oh,
at
yeah.
Combo Breaker. So
Hey.
Nice.
happy with that placement. I wish I would have done better, but I've been too busy working on Evo stuff, so I haven't been playing much. So, but yeah, I guess that's kind of my history in terms of Vampire Savior. My overall FGC history, again, like I first started competing with, I think my first tournament that I entered was Alpha 3, again in Japan, which is kind of ironic. It was like a game store tournament, and we played Alpha. Me and my like training partner at the time, we played Alpha 3 on PlayStation, and it was cool because we got first and second place.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and before that, I've been playing ever since the Street Fighter 2 in the arcade days. As a kid, again, like not knowing how to do motions.
Right.
Yeah, in high school, like I would get dropped off there before I could drive, just to keep me out of trouble. My parents would be fine if I was playing games as long as I wasn't, doing anything else.
Right.
So yeah, so shout out to the 707 Tilt crew, rest in peace. And yeah, played fighting games. Actually chose my college. Went to college down in SoCal so I could be close to Shuggle, the Southern Hills Golf Land back in the day, which is like the mecca for fighting games back in the day. But actually, it's kind of ironic. In college, I just got too wrapped up with college stuff, so I actually stopped playing fighting games for a while, and didn't come back until Marvel 3 hit the scenes. Because I was, I'm vsav is my main game, but in my heart, I'm always a Marvel player. So Marvel came back, I had to come back.
Right.
And yeah, the rest is history. That's kind of Marvel 3 was the first bracket I actually run. At the homie's garage back here in 707, and ever since then just been TOing ever since and doing more and more things since then and to where I am today.
What I've noticed so far, just like interviewing with some like people, it's really interesting to see just how many people are like, yeah, I played Street Fighter 2. I remember the arcade days. And then we have a lot of people who are just like I got really into fighting games like when COVID hit. Like I started like TOing because I felt like I wanted to do it or we needed it. I liked it, etc., etc. So we've gotten a wide variety of TOs from like that have been here forever, and then people who are just like joining in to the fray. So it's really cool, honestly.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is pretty cool. I mean, to add to some lore, like Hagure was saying, it's kind of funny how I came full circle with Vampire Savior, because I remember as a kid, I would go to the batting cages right across the street from where Game Realms is at now. So, and they had a Vampire Savior American cab. And I remember looking at it and not knowing what it was. Like, man, this looks cool. I love the characters. I'd see the Jetta, intro screen and everything, and I was like, whoa, I never played it because I was so young, so I would just play like the Die Hard arcade or like Metal Slug, right? Whatever else they had there. Now they don't have all that stuff anymore, and then years later on to come back and be right across the street from where I first saw Vampire Savior, right? Like the actual Darkstalkers 3, to being right across the street, running the locals or starting out, as a player, and then now being able to run the locals and stuff like that. That to me, I thought about it one day. I was like, that's pretty interesting. I don't know how that worked, but here we are. It's like
you've come full circle.
Yeah, for real.
In a literal
That's
sense,
awesome. Yeah.
Like, wow. It was calling me as a child, and now here I am as a older adult. It's like, oh, now I'm playing and running it, so that's awesome.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, shout outs to you.
Yeah, that's some lore right there. One day I just thought about it. I was like, that's actually pretty crazy. I never thought of it that way, but yeah.
A deep lore. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll move on to the next question. Like everyone either has started off being a competitor, but not everyone goes into the TO route. So what got you guys into TOing? Why do you TO?
Well, for me, I started off as a competitor at first. You know, it was by word of mouth. You know, I. It was funny because I played. I think everybody in the Vampire Savior knows Mr. Igloo. Uh, I played him in Tekken 7 at first, not knowing who he was. You know, I was really heavy into Tekken 7. I played him. I forget who won or lost, but later on I would go to
Real quick, do you
WNF.
remember who he played in Tekken?
He played Lars.
Lars. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I could
Yeah,
see that. Yeah.
Which at the time was an interesting pick, like in Vanilla T7, because I think Lars wasn't as good as I think he got better throughout the
A
season.
little bit better.
But
Yeah.
so, but I would go to WNF and I'd see him there, and I didn't know who he was once again until he told me, oh, he went to Japan for Vampire Savior, and that he was basically an ST legend as well, boxer, Oken main, and things like that. So I asked him like, hey, do you guys? I wrote a Twitter message to him like, hey, do you guys still play at Game Realms? He's like, yeah. I won't be there, but Rotanabor will be there. So I talked to Rotanabor, and he broke down everything for me in the game day one. My brain was like, I don't know what he just told me, but we're gonna do it some way, somehow. But throughout the years, he not only taught me the game, but taught me how to TO, taught me how to run locals, taught me how to do everything that it took for that to happen. Um, Even to the point of being able to get equipment from him and being able to have my own boards and stuff like that, and him teaching me the intricate things about this is what you should have, this is what you shouldn't have, and and fixing my mistakes and things like that. Always being present when it came down to that. So not only did he teach me the game, but taught me everything outside the game that it takes to run the local and to bring stuff there. And with the power of Mister now, it makes everything much easier. I still use my arcade hardware, but having Mister makes it so much easier to be able to have more opportunities for people to see the game and be able to play it. So yeah, thanks to Rotanabor teaching me everything, that's how I got my start in the TO aspect of like Vampire Savior and being able to help other games here and there as well.
So you like had like a whole mentor to like start you out. That's really cool.
Yeah, I've honestly, that's a blessing, because there's not many people that can do that. He's still, one of the most dedicated people to the game, gave, his whole, life to it. So, I'm sure right now he's just taking a break. But yeah, he definitely was my mentor, still is, whenever he comes back. It's more just, when he comes back and decides to run it again, it's all his. But until then, it's my training grounds. We ran it at Super Arcade the times where he, took a day off. I ran it at Super Arcade as well and got everything going. So, of course, with the help of, Super Arcade and Nerd Josh when he was in SoCal to get the equipment running well. But yeah, that's basically why I got into TOing, is because of him. Didn't even ask. He just said, I'm going to teach you how to do it. So
You're going to learn today. You're going to learn today.
Yeah, learn today. I was like, okay.
I remember there's always some funny stories from SoCal Vampire Savior players that I always hear. A lot of like some of the best players like in North America right now, I asked them like how they started out and stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, my TO just like signed me up for the bracket. He didn't even ask me. He just signed me up for the bracket. So like, yeah, you're playing Vampire Savior now.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, what? I didn't sign up. And then there's Rotanabor signing people up, building the Vampire Savior scene from
literally did that, and he would like message people like, hey, you better come, you're training for a tournament, like get over here. Like, what are you live 10 minutes away, what are you doing, like really? But I mean, that he was just going, that's just the show, like doing whatever it takes to build a scene from literally, like Hagure said, the ground up, from zero to where it's at now.
That's definitely an admirable task. Like, I was talking to the, what was it? Some of the other guys, and they said like they made their things like free. They would bring pizza, and like their first place winner would be like they'd win $20 and stuff. But no, this guy over here is like, no, you're playing this game.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's just, that was one way to do it. Of course, I would put up, money,
Mhm.
a little bit of money and prizes for people to win locally as well, just to try to bring them out, especially during the slower times, the holidays and stuff. Everybody's kind of laid back and chill. This is when we were doing it weekly too. Like we were always every Friday, either at Game Realms or at Super Arcade. So it was a lot of work, to try to keep people consistently coming because, people have other things to do throughout their day. So it's kind of hard to keep consistency, but everybody was doing their best to be consistent. I think what also helped is that we were all pre-pandemic traveling to every tournament possible. So everybody was in there training, with each other, helping each other out so we can go out and represent SoCal the best way possible. So yeah, it was quite the thing.
The SoCal training arc.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice, nice. Well, what about you, Hagure?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, so yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I got my start TOing back when in the Marvel 3 days. In the early days, I was just strictly a player. Basically learning how to even work fighting games, right? So I wasn't really thinking too much on the organization side. Yeah, Marvel 3 came out. Our locals were popping. It was held by the homie Tyran over here in 707. Shout out to Ram Nation. He would hold every Friday. He would hold locals in his garage, and we have like all of NorCal basically in our garage, in this dude's garage, every Friday. Like people will be coming out from the Bay Area, which is like an hour, 2 hour away drive. Just mostly just to come and take our money. Not gonna lie, like we were good, but we had like like Ricky Ortiz and Filipino Champ, like all the like heavy hitters of NorCal Marvel 3 like coming over. And I mean that's how it was, back in those days of the NorCal scene when Marvel 3 and Street Fighter 4 were really popping. Yeah, everybody would travel everywhere in NorCal, whether it's to some dude's garage, whether it's to, Sunnyvale Golfland, whether it's to, what was it called? TNT Thursdays, that was run by SRK back in the day. Like, yeah, it was just really cool. But I was fortunate enough to have some locals right here. And yeah, they were just popping so much where, Tyran, the host, he needed bracket runners. Like the brackets were too big. He was too busy, hosting, doing all kinds of other stuff. And so he's like, "Yo, have you run a bracket before?" I was like, "No." And I was also like somebody who always wants to help out, right? Like I'm always asking, because I mean, the other thing about Tyran is that everybody caps on this guy, right? Like everybody's just making fun of him, like. He kind of does it to himself, right? He like, oh, yo, I'm a beat your ass. Let's money match right now. I want to say this dude loses like 90% of his money matches. Like, he's not a bad player, but he's just a bad. He's just he doesn't make the right decision sometimes, right?
Right.
So everybody just clouded on this fool all the time, and I didn't really, I was, even though it was like my local scene, like. None of these guys were around back when I was playing, like before I left to college. So I didn't know too many of them. I only knew like a couple of them that were still around. So I felt bad for the dude. I was like, yo, let me help you out, any way I can, right? So he's like, yo, run this bracket for me. He gave me a paper bracket. This was, I think Challenge was around back then, maybe, but I don't think nobody was using it. Definitely wasn't as good as it is now. Yeah, but so yeah, he gave me a paper bracket. He kind of like showed me the ropes a little bit. He was like, "Oh, you advance people this way and that way," and I was like, "Okay, I kind of get it. I don't understand how this whole losers bracket thing works, but whatever." So yeah, just starting from there, I started helping out with brackets during those garage tournament sessions, and yeah, it just felt good to be really helpful, And from then on, I just kept running brackets there at locals. Whenever, and slowly, surely, I started going to majors again. I hadn't gone to majors in years. Before that, my last major before that was B5, actually. What the B series, which would further become to known as EVO. But yeah, since then I hadn't gone to anywhere. So I would go to majors. Wouldn't help out in the beginning. There was just still experiencing it all. seeing how crazy like the scene had grown since I had gone away. But I think, yeah, I didn't really have to run too many brackets at the time because I mean it was Marvel, right? So there was always somebody running Marvel like as a main game. But it wasn't really until I started getting into other games, like Uni. Uni was the first time, Under Night was the first time I really started running brackets at different places. So yeah, Uni L came out here in the US and had a really big scene here in NorCal. But outside of NorCal, wasn't really played too much. So I would go to majors. I would bring my games case, those monitor case with my fat PS3. Shout out to my fat PS3, man. I don't know how that shit is not dead, because those things like die just like that, right? Like I banged the hell out of that shit traveling with that, and it's still alive. Like so I love that console. But yeah, so yeah, I would travel around with my fat PS3. It would have Uni on it. I would just run tournaments. I was like one of the original Uni tournament organizers, just because I love the game. I really fell in love with that game. And then I started getting into vsav. Again, thanks to my friend, and vsav, they had a Darkstalkers Resurrection DSR on PS3, so I loaded that up on there, and then I would start running vsav tournaments too, on the side, and try to get signups. Learn how to advertise your event. Work. Collect money, get signups, look for players, all that kind of stuff, right? And this is all I'll run on one setup, so
yeah.
Luckily things weren't too big. That's when I started learning how to coordinate with other people to try to get two setups, especially for Uni, right? As the game started catching on in popularity. And yeah, just kind of fast forward from there. Eventually started up my own locals here for retro games called NorCal Crab Battle. There's definitely a lot of lore in the name of that name. People always ask me, why is it called Crab Battle?
Right.
You could check out the Twitter account for that lore later. That's definitely a story within itself. But yeah, I started running monthlies for that, and that was like a retro-focused monthly where I would run Vampire Savior, CVS2, ST, and I would randomly pick like one retro game to run every month. That's really with that, and then TOing stuff at ESA Oakland is when I really started to really like learn TOing and stuff. Well, I guess before that, I joined up with Anime Evo, which is now known as Vortex Gallery and 956 Productions. So I started running Vampire Savior at Evo as Rotanabor was retired from Evo. Had some health issues that kind of made it so that he wouldn't be able to go to Evo. So he asked, somebody run Vampire Savior at Evo for me, and I was like, yeah, sure. I had signed on to Anime Evo, as it was known at the time, as their web designer, and then that was the first year, and then the second year, I believe, is when Rotanabor retired. Actually, no, Rotanabor had retired a year before that. It was run by Sketch, a player from New York, who ran it for 1 year. And then after that, he was coming all the way. He didn't come again, so they were looking for another TO there. So from then on, I started running Vampire Savior at Evo. I was running my monthlies, running stuff. Running Vampire Savior at Evo. Whenever I'd go to other events, I would always, be running some kind of side tournament, whether it was Uni, vsav. I forget what else. I've run a bunch of other games that I didn't even play or know about just because somebody asked me to. And yeah, just slowly but surely just started running more and more things. Anime Evo started getting bigger and bigger, and as it got bigger, it kind of needed someone to kind of like, as opposed to running like a bunch of people come together to run like 8 games, it became like 16 games, and then it became like 32, 20 games, 24, 25, 30 plus games, right? And then so as we got bigger and bigger, we needed somebody to kind of like, at people, tell people, yo, what's good? Are you running something? Like, do you have consoles and stuff like that? And it just like, again, it was like another one of those things where like, nobody else was doing it, so I started doing it to help out. And flash forward to today, and yeah, I mean, everybody who's been interviewed on these things has probably been added or seen me around at least once. I kind of have my hands on everything when it comes to Vortex Gallery and 956. And now I TO semi-professionally too. I get paid to TO some events too. Was just at Combo Breaker, headed the retro room with Boom, a local Midwest TO over there. And I mean, it's been crazy, the TO journey that I've had. And yeah, get to make like cool stuff like this. Like shout outs to Wolf for making this cool Vortex Gallery shirt.
Nice.
I have the hoodie.
So yeah, the hoodie's nice too. Yeah, I think I gotta get. See, that's the thing, man. Like I get hot too easily, so I always buy like Combo Breaker merch, and that's all like flannels and fleece and stuff.
Right.
And, like I wear it like once
and
stuff,
then
but
put away.
Yeah, but the hoodies are sick though. Yeah.
I actually small deflore on me. I actually wear the old, what's it, 2018, 2019 Combo Breaker hoodie like to work every day. Because it's like so
nice.
it's so cold in the office, so it's like I just wear that hoodie every day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
CV just
yeah. So yeah, it's nice to be in a position where you can, and again, like for me, like I've always been, even outside of the gaming space, like I really feel for it and like want to help underrepresented folks out. And I kind of somehow just fell into that with the gaming thing too, where I'm trying to champion these underrepresented games. And that's kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong, like Vortex Gallery is going to be running some big games. We were running like DNF Duel, which is like a huge, it's like newly released, AAA title. But at the same time, we're running like TMNT Cross Justice League, a fan created game, like he took the Mugen engine, tore it apart like inside and out, and created a really dope, awesome game. If you haven't seen that game, definitely check out the archive on Combo Breaker for the tournament there. Vampire Savior, like Uni, no longer an underrepresented game. Like Uni blew up, right? But yeah, like stuff like Kianta, right? Like seeing all of it, through Vortex Gallery and 956, seeing like all these like really cool niche games like get some shine up on a stage is something that is really important to me. So it's why I do what I do.
Love to see it. Like again, like the one that like I think the selling points for going to majors is just seeing all these different games that you normally wouldn't see, or just seeing all these people coming from all over that play these niche games. Like it's really cool. Honestly,
yeah,
it really is. Yeah.
I guess at this point, you two pretty much have like a whole resume of like TO stuff between you two, like multiple page, dotted line, sign.
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely had to start keeping a doc, like whenever you'll volunteer for a major, to think, oh, please list your experience, right? Like,
right.
There's no way I can remember, so I just like every time I do something, I just add a line to the doc, and then I just like paste it all in there. I mean, these days I don't have to do it as much because most like major organizers like, oh, it's Hagure, okay, yeah, but yeah. But it's nice to think. Definitely something for new tournament organizers. I highly suggest you doing is keep a resume of your work.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is gonna be the first time I do something, volunteer for something big like Evo. So I hope to be able to do that maybe later on if other tournaments need volunteers and helpers and stuff like that. Because I really do like Hagure said, Vampire Saviors basically our main game, but I'd love to do it for any other game as well because there's a lot of underrepresented games that are really good. They just need their time to shine, some love to it. And, you know, one person can't do it alone. They could only do so much. So it takes, somebody else helping them advertise and blow it up and bringing setups to different parts of the world and stuff like that to introduce the game to new players and to build a player base around that, or, coming together for a game like Vampire Savior that wasn't going to be ran unless people stepped up, like, Zach, Alaris and Kyle and, Art, myself too, and Jamesy and Shodan to run the brackets, commentate and do things like that. So, it's really awesome to be able to do that. So I hope to be able to do it later on at other events as well that, they call for it, I'll put my name in the hat and see, get more experience on it.
Yeah, definitely, man. Don't sell yourself short. I know you're also helping Rizwan with Alpha 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I definitely try to, he's another one that, like Hagure, inspires me to want to do more for other games that are underrepresented as well, because he took a lot of, the Street Fighters that weren't represented and just made something out of it, plus other games as well, like Vampire Savior, Mark of the Wolves, the Street Fighter title like Sick and Impact and Hyper Anniversary Edition, like all these other games that, people, kind of leave behind type of thing, because you have your main games, Third Strike blows everything out of the water when it comes to tournaments and stuff like that. So but wanting to help him out as well for a game like Alpha 3, which is a really good game despite what people say about it, right? In depth, when you learn about it, it's like, wow, it's really nice game, and that game deserves some love too, alongside with Alpha 2 and things like that. Things like Alpha 2 outshine Alpha 3, so it's like, to be able to help Alpha 3 build up and hopefully build some momentum from here and keep, people playing, that'd be awesome. So, but yeah, it's going to be a fun experience for sure.
Yeah, I've been saying it the entire time, but I'm really excited to like see VG this year, because it's pretty much like us coming back now. It's like it's been what, 2 years, 3 years? Time is Enigma.
Yeah,
I'm losing count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be hype. All right, so next question then. So I guess describe your game scene competitively. Like I know you all talked about it a little bit already, but how would you describe it?
So I'll speak from like a newer player's perspective, right? Because I started around 2018 to like close to the end of 2018. So about going into 4 years, 3-4 years. Doesn't seem like that, but definitely going into 3 to 4 years. But it's one of the most welcoming scenes ever. Like when I first, asked Igloo, hey, do you guys still run video games at Game Realms? I don't remember if I specifically asked them, do you run Vampire Savior? But I probably said that because, that's the first game that caught my eye or that I heard from him telling me about it. And so from the first time, he's like, yeah, I won't be there, but Rotanabor will. Rotanabor, like I said, and many other players took me under their wing and just, just explained everything to me in detail. I was amazed to see like Dyer for the first time playing, because at the time I was wanting to play Lilith. And then Rotanabor told me, hey, while you're starting off, just play, an easier curve. Maybe try Felicia and things like that. So that's how I became a Felicia main, because, I just stuck with it. He taught me everything he could. And, but very welcoming, like no matter what, traveling to my first major tournament, I was already so excited, so in love with the game. Love at first sight, basically. I went to Mackay World Cup, I think that year. It was 2018, 2019. When it became Mackay World Cup, I think that was like the first one or something like that. So from then on, what's it called? I forget where it was, but I was, I seen Dyer eventually, watching him play Lilith, beautiful, just gameplay, eventually switching to Felicia, but going to Mackay World Cup for the first time, man, everybody was so welcoming, with arms wide open. It was amazing, like that's where I met Alaris, pretty sure that's where I met Hagure, and all of the people willing just to sit down and play with you, teach you about the game, and literally no ego, no nothing. It was all a good time, and no matter what, it was just one of the most fun things ever. And I remember like I'm gonna come back here every year if I can, you know. But that's the best way for me to describe it. Is it's just a beautiful scene with a lot of beautiful people in it who are just willing to open themselves up to teach you the game, to show you the game. Really, we're all very competitive, and I can see it when we play in tournament. But when the tournament's over, we all sit back down with each other, run the sets, and try to learn what we did, you know, wrong or did good when played against each other in tournament, and try to give each other tips on to help, you know, beat each other. So then that way we all continue to evolve and get bigger and better as players, you know, eventually be able to, you know, take on Japanese people, which I know many of the players here in America have been able to, you know, which is amazing as well. So without having too much Japanese experience, you know, Japanese player experience, they've come down, they've played, they're also very welcoming, very great people as well. And, you know, very fun people, you know, willing to teach, willing to help people out. They just want to help grow the game as well. So the Vampire Savior scene is beautiful, awesome, full of great people who, you know, you should never be nervous or scared to ask questions or to say, hey, do you want to play? Like, they took me, a new player, you know, nobody, playing with me consistently, motivating me to play online even. And, you know, that's another thing is the online scene. You know, you got people like Snuggle Guns and Kyokuji who, when they're on, they're willing to sit down and play hundreds of games and hours with you no matter what. You know, just it doesn't matter who you are, what level you are. That's the beautiful part about it, is that they give you the experience so they can see you, you know, do well in the game, in tournaments, or even just like TOing or something like that. You know, it's a very beautiful thing, and I think it's very rare in a lot of cases. So it's a thing I cherish most definitely, and I enjoy it. So that's why I'm here today, consistently playing it, and even volunteer, you know, running the locals and TOing for it. You know, that's a big factor in it. It's just so welcoming, and it's made me into the player and TO that I am today. So that's what I could say about it.
For sure. Yeah, the Vampire Savior community is definitely. Day said it. You know, it's like a family to me, for real. You know, like when I started out, you know, like I said, I was playing DSR with my homie here, and it was just us two playing, like, you know, each other offline. There's no tournaments around here. At the time in NorCal, there were tournaments, but I didn't know them. I didn't know the people too much, and no, they weren't all that big. But I went to NEC one year. I'm so bad with dates. It wasn't the snowstorm year. It was the year after the snowstorm. And then, you know, like having played a little bit of vsav, I saw that there was a tournament there. I figured, hey, you know, what the heck? I'll try to enter and learn about the game. And I knew that there was kind of like at that time, the community was mostly organized in a Skype group. So like I had joined the Skype group, but you know I didn't really know the people too well. You know, I'm like a newer player to them, so like I didn't really talk too much in it. But when I saw the group, like it seemed like, you know, it's like they're all homies. Like, you know, a lot of these people had known each other for like, you know, years and years and years already. So you know, I kind of like wanted to see and get to know who these people were. But unfortunately, like due to some like miscommunication, like I wasn't entered into the tournament, so you know, I was a little bummed out. I was like, oh man, like I was really looking forward to see like how I would, you know, compare to, you know, these players. But you know, it was okay. So I just went off. I saw like one of the arcade cabinets that had Vampire Savior there. So I went over there. You know, I saw it was a computer. Just started playing, and then you know, shortly after, somebody came up to me and was like, "Oh, hey, you know, do you play this game?" And I was like, you know, not a little bit, like just a little bit. They're like, "Oh, it looks like you played this game, and I didn't see you in the tournament." And then, you know, I was like, "Oh yeah," I told them what happened, and they're like, "Oh, you know, that sucks. Want to play some sets?" And yeah, it's kind of funny because that person was Baco, who at that time lived kind of in the area over there in East Coast. but would later on end up moving to NorCal and be my main person. Like he literally moved like what 5 minutes away from me, like a 10-minute walk basically, away from me in Berkeley, and he would help me start running my monthlies, my NorCal Crab Battle monthlies. Like he was a pivotal help in making that happen, and became my vsav training partner later. But yeah, but at that time, like I was just like, I don't know. He was like teaching me the game, and like he was like, "Yo, you're actually like really good. Like, what? You said this is like your first time like really playing this game?" I was like, "Yeah, I played like fighting games before that, like Marvel 2 and stuff, but not much else." He's like, "Oh, you should keep playing," and then he's like, "Here, let me call up some other folks, and you can play them." And he just like introduced me to some of the other people in the scene, and it's kind of been a wrap since then. Ever since that, every time I go to a tournament for vsav player, like they're probably the people I look forward to meeting the most. Definitely, like again, like those fools are like family to me. Like at Combo Breaker, this past Combo Breaker, I'm working with the VMP, the Vampire Arcadia crew. Ailer, Servo, Leia, Minimal, like all those people. Like it was such a dream to see them again. And like Day said, at the Makai World Cup, which was an event that Vampire Arcadia ran in their hometown, in their home like area of Ohio. That event was, oh man, like Vampire Savior was like the headliner event. It also had some like other retro titles, like a bunch of retro games. It also had like Uni, which shout out to Jushichi for running Uni there. So like it had like basically everything I wanted to play, right? And just like the event was cool. The people are so awesome. Like getting to meet all the people around the states. Like the SoCal scene. Rotanabor again. I can't. He definitely when I first started getting into Vampire Savior, he was the first one who like taught me the difference between Darkstalker's Resurrection, like PS3 version and the arcade version. Like before, like I was like basically like raised on the PS3 version when I first started playing because that's all I had. And then I was like, I can't. There's no difference really. And then he was like, okay, well, come on, hon. Like we had that tournament there. It was PS3, and he had brought like his whole super gun setup from SoCal to the NorCal local. He was like, okay, play these back to back. Like, tell me how you feel. And I was like, oh my god, like this is not the same thing at all. Like, like I was like, okay, I get it, and that kind of experience led me to on my long journey as a retro TO, where I started, buying up arcade boards, buying a super gun, buying PVMs, doing all this expensive retro, equipment, just to recreate, the real game. And totally worth it. Totally worth it. I will actually. I don't now. So I would go the Mister route. I need to get me a Mister like all right. Cool kids. Yeah, definitely a lot easier. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Rotanivore, all the SoCal cats. My partner is from SoCal, so like, every once in a while when we go down there, like I try to hit up the Game Rubs tournaments.
Yeah.
And participate in some of those, and just get to know all the cool cats down there. Dyer, JMZ. At MIDI. Oh, I saw MIDI at Combo Breaker too. Like all those fools. ENW scene. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So many. I mean, I could be here.
Yeah,
like 15 minutes of your time and just like list out all the cool people throughout the scene.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely all over the place over here. And internationally too. Started to meet some of the French crew over there. I remember last Combo Breaker, 2019 Combo Breaker, I got to meet one of the French TOs over there.
Oh,
He's a
yeah.
really cool guy. Yeah. But definitely every time I go to Japan, I try to link up with the Vampire Savior crew over there and get some good games in at like Mikado, Big One, GameSpot, Versus Will. All those Japanese arcades are, again, awesome people. And I've been in the FGC for a really long time now. shoot, I don't want to know how long. Wait, when did I start? I guess like 20 plus years or 20-ish years, right? And I mean, like definitely had like really close friends, and I still do, but never had I been in a scene where it's like everyone was really close and like really, it really did feel like a family kind of affair. So that's been awesome, and that's the outside of the game, right? And inside of the game, like we're super competitive. Everyone is, really trying their best, like Dave was trying to like saying, like to grind and get better. So our best players here, I would say, can go toe to toe with the best players in Japan. And I think as a scene as a whole for us, there's always been kind of like at least from before my time, I feel like there might have been like kind of like an inferiority complex with the Japanese scene, like it is for a lot of fighting game scenes, right?
Right.
Pre netcode era. But yeah, like we're thanks to the efforts of like Kyle W, who will be one of the commentators for this event, really bridging the scenes, the Japanese and the North American scenes together, and learning a lot from each other. It's not just like a one-way kind of thing. They've definitely told us that they've learned a lot. Like watching us play, they're seeing the game in a different light, a different kind of meta that we have over here, and also different like esoteric things about the game. Like Kyle is also like literally going into the code and finding out the reasons, like why are these bugs exist, and like different kinds of bugs and stuff. And the Japanese folks are taking a look at that, and they're sharing notes and stuff, and really getting down into the nitty gritty of like the code of the game. That's like been a crazy thing that I don't think I've really seen in any other scenes break it down to that level that they have. They're definitely like ST scenes have like taken a look at code and stuff, but the kind of intercontinental like teamwork and sharing, I feel like is something that I haven't seen in other scenes. So that's been really cool to see. But, yeah, I mean, if I had to describe my game scene, it's definitely not the biggest scene. As a retro game, it is still growing, but everybody knows this game, right? Like you take a look at, you're like, oh, that's where Morgan's from, or oh, that's it, that's the game with like the wolf, the werewolf, the vampire, the Frankenstein, the Sasquatch, the Yeti. Like, oh, it's that game, right? And so like, what I always tell people, it's like it's a super fun game. It's a beautiful game. Hashtag beautiful vsav, right?
Right.
But it's not just like the graphics and stuff, but the gameplay is really awesome, very unique. Yeah. And I think it's a really easy game to pick up and play. There definitely is kind of like what is it called, like a hurdle, right? Like a plateau that a lot of players reach early on, which is in defensive techniques. But once you pass that, and there's plenty of people, both offline and online. No, I guess online. I haven't really talked about the online scene a lot. To me, like, more so than being like a NorCal player for vsav, I consider myself an online player, because that's where I learned the game, really. Like after I got into this scene and community, like NorCal didn't really have many vsav players. That's part of why I started to grow one. So yeah, I would just play online. I learned the game online through Fightcade, and there's the online community. Shout outs to the vsav Discord. Awesome people there too, just learning so much and learning together, and really trying to break it down. So yeah, definitely check out the Discord if you're ever interested in learning the game. And I'm really happy and proud to be a part of this team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, now's the best time more than ever. I mean, you got all these.
Oh yeah,
you have all these. It's incredible to see these new players like start from a year or two ago and get to the level where they're at already. It's
it's scary, man.
It's super scary. It's like it's taken us quite some time, but they, in a year or two, they got to where they're at. I'm thoroughly impressed and happy to see that. Because I feel like there's so much more information now than there has ever been, and people, like I said, the willingness to help each other out, the willingness to sit down and play hours and hours on end with no breaks, no nothing, just so people get the experience and learn. It's amazing, so That's really awesome. So yeah, I mean, like Hagure said, don't be afraid of the game. It's definitely easy to pick up, hard to master. Um, you know, but just like any other fighting game, once you learn it and you get fluent with it, you're gonna be just fine. So you know,
And it's
especially
a
because Capcom Collection's coming out. So I encourage all new players to try it out, have fun with it. Don't just have fun, and then if you get more serious and want to have questions, check out the Discord, and we're all there, happy to help.
no, it's like just one huge family, like just ready to teach you
Yeah,
and stuff. Very welcoming. I think that's like the what's the word for it? The
yeah, for sure.
basis, like the basics of it. Like that's your foundation. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. You have a solid foundation for the vsav community.
For sure.
Alright, I guess this will be the final question. So, vsav at VG, what can people expect from your game?
They can expect a lot, like I said, especially because, I know there's going to be a lot more hype and word of mouth about it since Capcom Fighting Collection is coming out, with Vampire Savior and all the other, retro titles on there. So I hope that people can, have an easy way to access the game without wanting to feel like, I have to go online or do all this work to get it right. Although it's not a lot, but some people, may feel like it is. But being able to purchase the game, play, on Switch, PS4, I forget if it comes out on PC or not. But, so I feel like that's building a lot of, hype, a lot of excitement around it. Because, like Hagure said, people know this game. People know the artwork, the music, the style of it, and they all love it. It's just, I don't know what keeps them away from it if it seems like it's too hard. Really, I mean, compared to other fighting games, it's not that hard to get into. Like, we all say, but hard to master, and it could look definitely intimidating. Like, wow, what is going on here? How come, character like Hagure plays Wolf? How come he's all around the screen and I can't catch him? How come QB is, so fast and Sasquatch and things like that? But again, once you learn, you break it down, you slow it down, speed it up, you start to understand how things work. But I hope to see a lot of people, just watching the gameplay, watching how it can be played at a high level, and how, very welcoming the game and the community is for it. And yeah, I hope, people see that it lives up to the hype, it lives up to its name, it lives up to the love that people give the game. So I hope people can enjoy that and get motivated and start to play online, or start to train somehow, whether it be offline or online, whether Fightcade or Capcom Fighting Collection, or even Darkstalkers Resurrection. There's some people, Japanese people love to play on Resurrection and things like that. So, in any way, shape, and form, I hope it gets people playing and be like, wow, that's really cool. The music, the art style, the characters, the being able to express yourself in this game, is it's all there. It's an all-in-one fighting game to me. So it's got everything you'd want and more. So I really hope people can see that, and the love that we have. That's another thing, is that I think all of us, whether we're competitors or TOs for the game, we all have this just burning passion for it. You can see it. You can see the burning passion in all of us that just want to get better. Like I said, new players traveling. It's almost not heard of. A lot of the time, players take a year or two to actually learn the game and try to get basics down. Players like myself and like Mobius or NB, La Rosa, we all just dove into it. We all said, hey, you know what? Whatever. The best way to learn the game is go out and get more experience. So why not? It can be expensive, but it's the best way to learn. So, same reason why people will go all the way to Japan, to get that experience, So I hope people can get that experience from us and really see that, what the game's all about, and give it a fair shot. So, but I expect there to be a lot of hype. So, a lot of great moments, a lot of really good matches, and, that they can see why we love it so much.
Yeah, for sure. The Evo brackets for Vampire Savior are really interesting every year because, yeah, of course, you get your US players, but because, Evo is such an international event, you get a lot of international presence that you don't normally see at other events. Every year, we would usually get like a few Japanese players come to enter the bracket. Not quite sure how it'll work out this year, with the pandemic and everything. But I know there are Japanese players going to Evo, so it's very highly
nice.
likely. And I mean, you got like players like players that who are really well-known names like Haitan and Sako. They're Vampire Savior players. They one of the games that they really cut their teeth in was in Vampire Savior. I know a few years back, yeah, both of them entered in the Vampire Savior bracket. So, there's always that wild card of whether they're going to enter. And again, like I said, from France, there's usually, I think last year, 2019, there was a French player who came. There's a couple of Australian players who came. But yeah, I mean, folks from all over, and that's true with any bracket at Evo. But yeah, especially with the Vortex Gallery events, you see a lot more players, taking a chance and entering these brackets just because they're like, oh shoot, I love this game. Like it's cool to see this game, at an event that I haven't been able to see before. Yeah, and in terms of NA competition, we're definitely going to have some strong talent there. Belarus, who has been on a hot streak, pretty much winning every single Vampire Savior tournament he's entered, will be there. He'll be streaming. So yeah, I mean, that actually makes it even scarier because whenever he's doing work, he's even scarier in bracket. Yeah, I've heard Apollo from New York, strong Zapple player, is going to be making it out. And yeah, I mean, not only are we going to have the really strong players, but with its being close to SoCal and the West Coast in general, there's a lot of folks in the scenes over here in the West Coast who generally make it out to Evo. So it'll be really cool to see, and especially like they said, with the Capcom Fighting Collection coming out in I think next week, I want to say.
Right.
Yeah, it's basically a collection of games with Vampire Savior is one of the games in there, and it's finally coming to PlayStation 4, and that's something I've wanted ever since I gotten into this, and PS4 has kind of become like the FGC console, right? I've always wanted to have it on PS4 just because, sure, yeah, if you want the perfect arcade experience, yeah, you get your super guns, you get your misters. But that's not really feasible, especially for people who are just getting into the game, right?
Right.
So I really feel like with this collection coming out on PS4 and like you said, Switch, and it does have a PC version too.
Awesome.
So we're gonna see a lot more new players kind of discover the game and get into it. Just like we did ourselves years back. And it'll be really awesome to see all the new blood coming in and learning the game, hopefully coming to Evo, entering the bracket would be nice, but if not, at least checking it out, right? And seeing what this game has to offer. Because yeah, like they said, it's something where you can really express yourself in, which is something that I wasn't really quite sure about at first when I first started playing, because it is a very offensive game, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of thought of as the grandfather for Marvel and anime games. Which are very, very offensive, heavy games. But for me, I'm a very lane player. I normally play zoners and stuff.
Right.
But I play Wolf, which is one of the most aggressive characters in the game. But I make it work with my style. I do play more of a footsies, zoning kind of based style. Even though he doesn't have a projectile, he has super long limbs, so I can really frustrate people by just laying back and then just using my long normals to kind of do the work for me. I always love to say that I'm the lamest wolf west of the Mississippi, because I love timeouts. I mean, Vampire Savior is a super fast game, right? Our top eights are running less than an hour, right? So, TO, like, event organizers always love throwing vsav top 8, like, oh shit, we're behind schedule. Like, we need something to catch us up. They always throw Vampire Savior. Okay. But yeah, so like it's a super fast-paced game, but I love leaving people out. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of something in there for everybody, right? And it's a very easy game to pick up. If the combos are normally chains, so you don't have to learn like hard links for most of the characters to start off with. You can get on your feet like really quickly. The combos are pretty short. The system mechanics are relatively simple at that early stage, and but the thing is that the skill ceiling for the game is super high. So once you get a hold of the game and you get comfortable with it, like if you really like the game and you fall in love with it like we have, like you can be in this game for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
and still be learning stuff, right? Like whenever I go to Japan, that stereotypical like old salary men coming in after work, like playing the game that they've been playing for like the past 30 40 years, and still still doing great, winning a lot, losing a lot, just having fun with the game. So yeah, I definitely expect people to really have fun with Vampire Savior at Evo. And yeah, we're gonna put on a show. I'm really thankful for the crew here. Like I said at the top of the show, like I'm just kind of like a managerial role here. It's people like Day, people like Ailerus, JMZ, who else we got on crew? Showdown, like, our bracket runners, like, they're the ones who are going to be doing it, and they always do a bang up job. Like VMP with Ailerus, like, at the helm. Like, I'm so thankful that he came through. Now that I know that he's on the stream, like, I got zero worries on it. Day came through saying, like, he's going to TO, like, zero worries. I've seen what you do at Game Rooms. You are definitely following in Rotanabor's footsteps. So like, y'all are gonna put on a bang up show. Hopefully I could be a part of it a little bit. As I'm running around, doing everything else for Vortex Gallery. But yeah, really excited to see the show. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one, y'all.
No, you heard it here. Don't miss vsav. We got international competition. You got some veterans here. You maybe see some new people. So definitely check it out. But yes, again, thank you all for running the event, and thank you, Hagure, for running literally everything. Or help running everything.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for having us on. Thank you, Hagure and Chickzama, for having 956 Productions and, allowing people like myself, not so brand new, but new to the major volunteering, to be able to help out and put on a good show for, all the games that we help volunteer and help out, and it's awesome. I know it's a lot of work, but I appreciate it, so thank you.
I mean,
thank you, man.
It's nothing without our volunteers. We help, grease the wheels, but it's the folks like you, the volunteers who make the show run. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
But yeah, everyone, that's gonna be it. Be sure to follow us at 956 Productions. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow our Twitch channel, and be sure to tune into Vortex Gallery this August. Yep, I am Chickzama, and I'm with Hagure and Day. We're peacing out for now. See y'all.
Peace, everybody.